I think it's fair to say that for a photographer who was reluctant to travel to Africa, my next guest has more than made up for it. It was Kim Illman's wife, Tonya, who finally convinced him to make the trip, and as a result we have a beautiful book of African wildlife taken from a unique perspective. The book is called Africa on Safari, and it's really something special. Kim is with us. Hello, Kim.
Hello, Barry. Glad you like it.
Oh, it's wonderful. I'm just looking at a picture of a lion, this massive spread of a lion looking into its eyes, and you can almost get a sense of what it's thinking. It's just extraordinary, some of these photos. Tell me, why were you initially so reluctant to go to Africa?
Oh, I thought it'd be boring, sitting in a car for hours on end, roaming the countryside on bumpy roads trying to find animals. But in the end, after many years of saying no, my wife just said, right, I've booked the airfares for us all, 2 kids and her and me, and you're going to have to do the ground content. So I took the bit between my teeth and I did some homework and realised that we wouldn't stay in South Africa where she'd booked us to. We'd go further afield, and I ended up booking us to Kenya and Tanzania. And from the moment I saw 9 lions on the road on that first safari drive, I was pretty much hooked.
You were taken.
Yeah.
You realised as well you're a long way from Perth at that stage.
Yeah, and it costs a lot to do these things, I tell you. I would have been a lot better off continuing car racing, I think.
You decided to take a different approach to capture images of the animals. Tell us what you did.
Well, the first 3 or 4, probably the first 3 safaris, I did what everyone did, and you take photos from the top of the safari vehicle or from the window. And so I end up getting the same sort of shots as most people do. Occasionally we saw really amazing things, and it didn't really matter where you took those photos from because you were seeing a rather unusual event. But for most photos, they're pretty much the same. So then I got wind of a guy in New Zealand that could make a remote control buggy for me, and I got him to make this buggy, and we mounted a camera on it, and we would drive it into different areas, and we'd just leave it, and then we'd back away from the car, and animals, mainly lions, would just see this thing and come over and investigate it, and we would shutter away remotely. So we get these low-angle shots with wide-angle lenses and animals that you never see in this vein. And when you look in the book and you see the front cover and it's got the big hippo from a camera that's a metre away and very low to the ground, it's a shot that you would never, ever see, certainly not from a tourist. And there's only probably a few professional guys that do that sort of stuff. And we're not professional. I've got an audio production company, so this is just a great hobby for me.
The challenges you face trying to get some of these perspectives?
Well, sometimes you'll go out for a day and you won't get a photo because we'll bury a camera, say, at a waterhole. We'll back off 50 metres and we'll just sit there and wait for elephants to come down. Some days they just don't show. Some days they come and they kick the camera so the thing's not taking the right photo. Sometimes they'll splash water on it so you get mud on it. Yeah, if you really want good photos, you have to do a lot of legwork. We have to go to different places, so we end up going to Katavi National Park. It's 40-plus degrees every day, and the bugs at night are they're horrendous. They're in your bed, you squash them on your back, so there's a fair amount of discomfort. But to get the photos that we wanted to get for the book, we had to go to out-of-the-way places.
Do you have any particular favourites? I know it's a bit hard to choose when you've already probably selected from a group already, but what are some favourites you've got there?
My favourite, and bear in mind that Tonya is also a contributor to the book and probably has about 25% or 20% of the photos in there, and there's probably another 20 or 10% that are combined because we use the buggy and it's a combined effort. But one true joint effort was a day we were in the Mara. We'd put the buggy out and it started to rain, so I thought I'll bring that buggy back, and we brought it back, and 2 sub-adult lions decided they'd follow it back to the vehicle. I didn't want it to get wrecked, so I drove it underneath our safari vehicle. And these 2 sub-adults, which are the equivalent of teenagers, sat there and they just looked under the car, and they were there for a minute. So we madly scrambled to put a camera on a monopod, and then we hung it down outside the safari vehicle on the monopod and remotely shuttered it. And this lion came up to it, and it pawed the camera, and my hand is about 50 centimetres from this lion. And it was the most amazing experience. We had to be very still, not make a noise. And luckily, we got this fantastic shot, which has been all around the world and is known as the lion selfie.
What do we get, do you think, when we get this eyeline shot of animals?
The low angle makes their heads look bigger and their bodies smaller. They look at the camera, whereas a lot of times it's very hard to get them looking into your lens. It's not impossible, but it's a lot harder. But they see this particular device or they see a buried camera and they go to it, and they look at it, and they question it. Can I eat it? Is it a threat? And once they realise that, no, it's not a threat and they can't eat it, they tend to mainly just leave it alone and walk away. But they're really intense photos. And then also, we'll put up, I did a fair bit of aerial work, both with helicopter flights and a quadcopter, remote-controlled camera work. So there's a shot in the book towards the back of this hippo pool in Katavi National Park, and the water drains out of the river. So where there was several thousand hippos along 10 kilometres of water, now they're vying for 2 ponds. So when you see what looks like 2 lungs, and you have a look at it and you think, oh, are they maggots? Oh, no, they're hippos. And there's hundreds of them in there and just 3 crocodiles, and they're all vying for space.
And there's no shying away. I mean, there's some shots here where you've got lions eating cubs.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't there? I mean, you showed it in all, warts and all.
And there's another one of a gazelle chasing, a pair of gazelles chasing a jackal chasing a gazelle that's giving birth. And you can very clearly see that the young baby is coming out of the mother while she's sprinting away. And it wasn't a happy end for the 2 gazelles. They both ended up victims of the jackal first, and then the lions came and chased them off. So we've seen some pretty amazing things. We've also been charged on foot. I tell you what, nothing gets your heart pumping when a lion runs at you while you're on foot.
No, I can barely, scarcely imagine what that would be like.
You know you're alive, I promise you. That was an amazing thing. The first time we were warned that this lion, because in Zimbabwe you can do foot safaris, so we're out with our guide and we're walking on foot, and he says, look, there's a mating pair over there. We're going to walk to about 40 metres away, and if it charges you, just keep taking photos. And I'm thinking, is that right? Should we not be worried? No. These guides, they tell you what to do, you do it. If they tell you not to do it, you don't do it. So sure enough, this male lion just comes at us at speed, clicking away, and that was pretty flash. And then the next day, we had a female lion who we didn't expect to charge us, just came out of the dust while we were on foot. And I tell you, that was frightening. My wife was in front of me photographing, I was next, and our 2 guides were behind us. So she would have gone first if it had continued. Stopped about 15 metres away in a cloud of dust.
Yeah, all right. Well, the book's a real treasure. Well done on it. Well done to you and Tonya. Kim Illman, thank you for speaking with us.
Pleasure, mate. And they can see some great vision at kimillman.com as well of the background behind the story.
Okay, the book is called Africa on Safari. It's 5 minutes away from 4. Don't want to be too corny, but let's roll out this from Toto from 1983 and Africa.